Welcome back to the Smart Driving Cars podcast. Thanks for spending time with us once again. I'm Fred Fishkin, along with the Faculty Chair of Autonomous Vehicle Engineering at Princeton University, Alan Kornhauser. Hi, Alan.
Hey, hi, Fred. Good evening.
Good evening. Middle of summer here, a July Jersey edition, but not in New Jersey. Joining us once again from Sweden is consultant and co-author of The Real Case for Driverless Mobility, Michael Sena. Thanks
Nice
for
to be here
joining
again.
us, Michael.
Thank you. Nice to be here again.
And
Uh,
Michael, it's nice to have you because I actually we're not in the same day. You're a day ahead
Yeah,
of us. So
that's
I
right.
mean, this is like weird, but this
It's 1:53 in the morning here in dark Sweden.
it can't be dark already. It should
Yeah,
still
it's
be
dark.
light. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, it should
my
be.
goodness.
Yeah,
Anyway, thank you for getting up out of bed and dragging you and being a day ahead of us and whatever. But you're
my pleasure.
always ahead of us. Nice to have you, Michael.
We have important things to talk about.
We do indeed.
Well, there's been a lot going on when it comes to regulations, when it comes to automated vehicles globally, really. And Michael, you're here to catch us up more or less. I'll let you get started.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to know where to start with this whole issue because the companies that have been operating in this sphere, primarily Waymo and Tesla. There are other companies that have come and gone trying to develop the technology for removing a human driver from the task. And the principal reason that has been given for this is that it improves the safety of the vehicles, that because you are replacing a human driver with a robot who will always do the right thing, there there won't be any deaths on the highways and the byways, and cars will be safer than they've ever been before. The problem with that has been that the cars that are operating, whether they're Waymos or Teslas or anyone else, they've been operating in test mode. There isn't any vehicle that can be sold today in any market today that can be sold as a um, street legal vehicle that either an individual or a company could operate in driverless mode. It's taken quite a long time since people began the efforts to establish the regulations that would allow vehicles to be operated driverlessly. But one thing actually has happened, and it was a month ago. The organization called WP29, Working Party, it's a United Nations function that has been responsible since the 1950s for creating regulations in countries that adopt their regulations, that are signatories to this UN group, that provide the requirements for a vehicle to be legal, to be sold legally for operation commercially, not as either a test vehicle or as a very short run specialized vehicle, but to be sold to consumers in any quantity, 1 million, 2 million, however many you want to sell. This organization, after 2 years of very intensive work, created a structure for a regulation that could be used to test vehicles without a human driver behind the wheel. One other thing occurred as part of this regulation. During the process of developing it, the countries who were not signatories to this, what's called the type approval process, primarily the United States and China, they took part actively in all of the work that was done, and they agreed to take this regulation and to put it into their own country requirements. So in the case of the United States, that's the Federal Motor Vehicle Safety Standards, FMVSS. These are overseen by NHTSA, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. NHTSA is responsible for creating the regulations, and they're responsible for ensuring that they're followed. Many of the people who are listening right now know the difference between the process that's used in the so-called type approval countries, principally Europe, as well as Japan and South Korea and a number of other countries, where there is a testing agency. Now, there are many agencies, but they all perform the same thing. And the car is tested by this agency in, let's say it's in Germany. It could be in France, it could be in the Netherlands, could be in Sweden, but let's say it's in Germany. They perform the tests that have been established by WP29 as a regulation. They determine if the entire vehicle that's tested meets those regulations, and then that car can be sold anywhere where type approval is in effect. So if you test it in Germany, it can be sold everywhere within the European Union, and also in Switzerland, Norway, the United Kingdom, and various other countries that are part of the type approval process. In the past, when, according to other regulations, in the United States, there is no testing agency. The FMVSS provides the regulations and the requirements for determining whether a car is street legal. And the individual car companies perform the tests that in Europe, type approval countries, are performed by organizations, agencies, testing agencies. And each company tests its own vehicles and provides a certification, self-certification. It says our vehicle complies. Obviously, the FMVSS has to be followed. Everything has to be according to those regulations. And if it's determined after the car is put on the market that it doesn't, then there's a recall process that goes through, and things happen that's well, in order to get those cars really according to the regulations. But that's the main difference between the two. They're essentially the same types of requirements, the same types of regulations. It's just that in the United States, it's the companies who go through the certification process rather than an independent testing agency. And so far, it's worked out just fine. Now, it has taken quite a long time to get to the point of having a regulation in place which could be followed in order to remove a driver from what's called the dynamic driving task. To remove that driver completely from the dynamic driving task. There's the possibility, if you take Tesla right now with their full self-driving, Tesla has said that our full self-driving does not meet the requirements today for removing a driver. And it's the reason that they've done that, the reason that they've said that, is that if they said that our car is driverless, even though they call it full self-driving, but if they said our car is driverless, there would be no regulation which would cover that car. So all of the companies that are out there today who are providing driverless cars, Zoox and Waymo, they're doing that in the United States. They're doing that under a special regulation which NHTSA has that says if you sell fewer than 2,500 cars, you do not have to meet certain regulations. Obviously, you must have brakes, and the car must be able to stop. but you will give you a pass on certain regulations within a limited area for testing purposes. And this is what Waymo has been doing for, well, almost the last 10 years, essentially. They've been able to remove the driver and allow cars to be driven around in special areas where the states and the cities have also allowed this to be happening. But they fall under this requirement that says you can go out there, you don't have to meet all of the requirements of the federal motor vehicle safety standards, but you can't go out there and start selling and deploying a vehicle in greater numbers than 2,500.
And
So what
Tesla
Waymo,
Tesla is part of that group as well
no, it isn't.
of late. Is it
Of
not?
late it is. Of late it is,
Yes.
but in a very special way. They've been allowed to do what Waymo has been doing with the same requirements and the same sort of uh, capabilities. They haven't been able to do it with the no driver, no the Cybercab, because the Cybercab doesn't have the minimum requirement for being able to put the car into a market. Now they've been allowed to do that, and I think they're doing it. I'm not 100% sure. I think they're doing it in some areas in the Austin area. But in the case of Waymo, Waymo has got their vehicles operating without a driver, without a backup driver, without somebody sitting behind the wheel. There are wheels in their car. There are in all the cars that they're using for testing. There are controls, so those cars can be driven in a case of emergency. But they're operating those cars in San Francisco, in Phoenix, and Austin, and various other places, Atlanta now, without having anybody in the car when the car is being driven around. Now, so, but these are cars are operating in a test mode. There isn't any commercial operation. Now, Waymo has been authorized to charge for rides. Now, uh, how you get around that situation where they look like they actually have a business, which they don't. Waymo says their mission is to be the world's most trusted driver. That's Waymo's mission. I heard it. I was in Geneva at a conference listening to the representative from Waymo, and Waymo said our mission is to be the world's most trusted driver. They didn't say our mission is to deliver the most affordable rides. Our mission is to deliver the safest and most affordable rides for people who can't afford it, like the mission of handy rides. They just said our mission is to be the world's. Their business is to help companies to get the technology that's necessary that would comply with the regulations that have now been signed and they're now going to be put into the regulations in every country with type approval process, and they will eventually. There's no timetable that's been given for this, but they will eventually be put into the federal motor vehicle safety standards so that cars can implement driverless technology, can be tested so that they can be approved for street legal operation, and people can begin to create businesses without having drivers. Now, that's where we are today. That's as far as we've come with driverless technology today.
And let me just ask you this. Tesla has said, and they've said a lot of things over the years, of course, that have taken much longer, that they intend to begin selling to consumers their cybercabs, cyber cars. Those are vehicles without the steering wheel or pedals to consumers next year, is what they're
Yeah,
saying.
and what to help them along that path, the NHTSA has said that they are in the process of creating regulations that would go into their federal motor vehicle safety standards that would allow vehicles to be driven without having pedals um, and steering wheels. Now, um, time frame on that, as far as I know, None. Alan put his hand up. He wants to interrupt me. Go ahead, Alan.
No, I don't want to. I mean that, but Fred, you opened up another can of worms here. Okay, Cybercab is not a driverless vehicle. Cybercab is a vehicle without pedals and steering wheels, but it has a person in it. Now, to me, there are really two functions to the dynamic driving task, or the dynamic driving task. Assume it here, a Venn diagram. Boom, we're going to chop it in two pieces. Okay. One is what I like to call, nobody else is calling. Well, I didn't like the levels. I like to make up my own names. That's why I call it smart driving cars. Give me a break. I'm supposedly a professor, so I get to give names. The one piece over here is I like to call it the 20 millisecond stuff. What angle should the the wheels on the ground be? I don't care which way should the wheels that are going to guide the vehicle, which directions be? And what does the throttle brake combination look like? Or what's really the acceleration, deceleration piece of the vehicle? And traditionally, that's been done by a person grabbing a wheel and hitting the pedal, or putting the pedal to the metal, or whatever. That's what's been done every 20 millisecond or so as you go from A to B. That's that guy. And then the other guy is more of a supervisory function, one that says, I'm stuck here, turn around, or I got to find a new route, or the road is closed ahead. I mean, that supervisory function, the road is closed ahead. I don't only need the supervisory function needs not only the road closed ahead, but needs to know which side of the closing you're on. Are you going into a closed road that's closed ahead, or are you coming out of it? Because the supervisory function is going to be quite different. If I'm outside of it, then the supervisory function says, go around it. But that doesn't take place at the 20 millisecond level. That takes place at the second, 5 second, 10 second, 20 second. Sit there and think about it. I see water ahead on the road. I don't know that there's any sensor that tells me how deep that sucker is. I can't tell, because I'm driving my 55 Chevy. Okay. And so, I do a supervisory function that says, maybe I should do a K-turn right here, or U-it right here, because otherwise, I'm done. Ba-ba-boom. Those are supervisors. So that's the second piece.
But both of
Okay.
those are covered. Both of those have to be covered and are covered in the
Of
regulation.
course, the dynamic driving task needs to be.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it may be that a technology can do the 20 millisecond stuff a hell of a lot better than I can. And even though the folks in the AI business think, oh my goodness, generative AI, cut it out. Cut it out. Stop right here. That's at best 50 years from now. That's one of these thermonuclear things. Hey, when are we going to have thermonuclear fusion? It's always 50 years ahead. That's cut it out. So in fact, I would look at the robotaxi as a vehicle that it probably can do the 20 millisecond stuff not only better than I can do it now, better than maybe I've ever done it.
But are you talking about the Cybercab or about Waymo? Because they're both called
I'm talking
robotaxis.
No, I'm talking about the Cybercab. Without,
Okay.
I don't need a steering wheel, a steering wheel and a throttle. That's just because it has to interact with me as a human. And actually, I'm the safety problem in the human. I'm
Yeah.
the safety problem. My misbehavior is the problem.
Yeah.
And that's why this whole chase of, oh my goodness, I'm going to solve the safety problem by taking the person out of the vehicle and out of the loop.
Yeah.
If I'm one of these guys that man, I love to drive. You're going to be again 50 years in the future before you get that, before you make any headway on the safety problem. Okay, so the fact that there's a throttle, something for you to put your foot on, or something to boost, is irrelevant in some sense. If the darn thing sees 360 and interprets properly and reacts every 30th of a second, it doesn't need this thing, it doesn't need that thing, but it does need the wheels, and it does need a motor that goes or provides some friction one way or another on that surface, so that the taking out of the steering wheel doesn't. But guess what that thing still needs? I think it needs supervision
Yeah.
for the
Okay.
people who
But
can do that. Okay, and so that's the thing that in fact the Tesla Cybercab. I don't know. Have we really have they sent that sucker out without anybody in it yet?
Well, let me answer that. What they're
Mm.
saying as of
Well,
yesterday, Alan.
yeah. Tell me what they're saying, but what they're
They said
saying.
as of yesterday, employee rides at Giga Texas have started without anybody else in the vehicle.
Anybody else?
Right.
Wait. Anybody else? Who's doing the
They're saying
supervision?
employee ride. I'll read you what's Basinor is reporting. Employee rides at Giga Texas are the first time real passengers on a repeatable schedule are stepping into a production cybercab and being moved from point A to point B by software alone. No steering wheel to grab, no pedals. There is
Yeah,
no
but
rear
the
window,
steering wheel,
etc.
that's
And once you are
irrelevant.
in, you're in the software's hands. There is not.
Who does the supervision piece? I've broken the task up into two pieces for my purposes, not regulation purposes. Dynamic driving. I just let me have a choice. Two pieces. Okay.
Alan,
Who's
I,
doing the supervision piece?
it, can we, I'm not sure where you're going with the Cybercab, but if you sit behind the wheel in a Tesla with full self-driving and you put full self-driving active and
I do
you,
it every day. It's the only way I go around anymore.
okay,
Yes, go ahead.
and are you supervising it?
Absolutely.
Okay, and for you, supervising it means if it starts to do something that you don't think it should be doing, that you take over and put your hands on the wheel and put your feet on the pedals and you drive the car.
Yeah, but I could just as easily say, "Hey, yo, slow down," or turn left, or turn left 22.6287432 degrees. I
Yeah,
could I
yeah,
could give it voice input.
yeah. You
I
could do that. Sure. All
Well,
right.
right,
Yeah,
yeah, sure, right. But I'm supervising. When I came up against the barricade,
yeah,
I supervised it and told it to take the gap.
yeah. Okay.
Okay,
So what
because
you're,
it didn't know what I knew, that I was inside the closed area.
yeah, but Waymo says our cars are being driven around in a specific area. We've mapped it. They're being driven around.
Mapped it.
There is no there is. Look, Alan. Look, I mean,
But it's a bunch of crap because they go into water, they go into crowds. There's supervisory function, my opinion. Whoa. I mean, otherwise, what are we reading about? What are the people in San Francisco complaining about? They go into crowds, they go into places with firecrackers and celebrating Chinese New Year's.
Right. So to return to where I was before, what the regulation does, it addresses both of these issues. It says if you're going to have a car that's going to be operated without a human in the loop, that the vehicle must be able to meet both of these requirements.
Yeah, I that's why I said that. But Fred took us into the cyber car without steering wheel and without gas pedal, and I said, that doesn't make it into a driverless vehicle. What makes it into a driverless vehicle is being able to handle the whole regulation, as you said. It's got to handle the 20 millisecond stuff, and it's got to handle the supervisory stuff, which is not 20. Nobody, no person can intervene in 20 milliseconds. I mean, my cognitive cycles, I mean, I don't know. I do maybe 20 cognitive cycles per second.
You mean if you're not driving the car, like with full self-driving, if you're not driving the car and the car says to you something, you need to do something now because I can't do it, that you don't have enough time to do that, right? Is that that's what you're saying?
I mean, if I'm expected to operate at the 20 millisecond level, I can't.
Yeah.
I can't. I mean, whatever. And it's always been a level 3 problem forever. You know, somebody's who knows doing what in the back seat. Oh, hey, I mean, whatever. Okay. So, and I just, I'm taking because I guess I'm of the opinion, just my personal opinion, that right now, my personal experience is this stuff at the 20 millisecond level. I can't compete with it. It's so damn good.
Okay,
It kicks
that's
my
good.
butt.
Yeah,
so
that's good.
It does a 22nd millisecond. The supervisory piece, cut it out.
Yeah. So when you're driving your Tesla and you have it in full self-driving, you find that it does the things that it needs to do to stay on the road and not hit things and get you to where you want to go. But there are situations.
Not kill people.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not hit things, not kill people. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there's something missing.
Well, I'm not ready. I'm not ready to let that sucker go to Fred's house and pick him up
Without having someone behind the wheel in order to be able to supervise it
behind a wheel. I don't care. I don't need a wheel. Wheels and pedals. That's old school. You don't need them anymore. Okay, you really don't, because probably the best way for me to react is if something starts to go wrong, and it needs supervisory. I hope I can talk to it.
Okay. Yeah.
Because if I grab a wheel, I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
Holy hell, that's the worst thing that could happen. I'm going to flip it. I'm going to end up in this roof, and it breaks my neck. It doesn't have anything to protect my neck. I mean, the pillars, you trust them? I don't.
And that's what NHTSA, I guess that's what NHTSA is counting on, by saying that we're going to remove the pedals and the steering wheel, but you still have to be able to maneuver the vehicle in case the software in the car doesn't.
No, I don't maneuver. I supervise them. It's supervising is different than the 20 millisecond. My opinion, personal opinion, we can no longer compete as humans at the 20 millisecond level. So to perform a maneuver, park this, do a K turn, pull over. Hey, you're blocking traffic. Pull over to it. It kicks our butt. We're done as humans doing that. I mean, if we put up a competition, we lose. I mean, my money's on the machine. I think I win. I get rich. Okay, let's do
So
it right now. Okay,
just to
what?
put it into the real world context, this is what companies are saying, that they will be able to do this. The regulations are such that they can be
Do,
tested,
do
and in
what?
order
Do what? The 20
do what you do
millisecond or
exactly.
the supervisory? I got to do both. If I don't do both, I'm not driverless. I can't put it out there
The
by
regulation,
itself.
the regulation that's in place right now addresses both of those.
Okay,
Driving is not just steering the wheel.
sure.
Everything that's part of the driving task has
And I just chose to break them into two
it's
pieces.
the most complex activity that humans do today.
Oh, well,
You
I
can
mean that
shake your
that
head at
that
you can
that's
shake your
that's
head,
the
but
society of I mean, I
all of
doubt
the
it.
everything that's been done to analyze that problem, it's the most
I
difficult
don't
and
know. Ballet
complex
dancer
human.
better, more complicated than ballet dancing. I doubt it. I mean, come on. I mean, you know, yeah. I, that's a
Yes,
bunch of, oh, I don't, maybe, I
yes,
don't know, maybe I
yes,
don't know anything about ballet. So,
yeah, yeah,
I mean, yeah,
for
sure,
sure.
sure. But
Yeah.
come on. I mean, some of these
Well,
guys out
I
here, I
think you're
mean, are
usually
so
on point,
enamored.
Alan. So
Yeah,
What?
I think you're usually on point. So
yeah,
Yeah.
usually on point.
No, but the reason why I bring all this out is that in fact, even though I've been one of the biggest champions of driverless, for why? Because the only way that I see you provide any societal good out of this technology anytime early in its deployment. I mean, in other words, you go from nothing to full. You've got to be delivering value all along that evolution curve. And it doesn't go like that, as we've noticed. I mean, my goodness. I mean, otherwise we would have done this in 2014. Okay. And here it is, 2026. And we're so, you got nothing. And you've delivered essentially zero societal value out of this. And you've not made rounding error on safety yet. And you're not about to. And you've done nothing for societal value. And you spent 320 billion or whatever McKinsey says that we've all spent. And I spent 50 plus years of my life trying to do automation to try to provide some good. And guess what? The scoreboard says we got zero. We provided zero, zero, or as close to zero. I mean, 10 to the minus who knows what. And what the hell are we doing here? And now we have regulations that finally say this, and that these regulations supposedly are going to chase safety. It's goofy.
It's the it's the only thing that the regulations can do. They
I
can't determine a business. This is the
fine,
problem. Alan,
fine,
look,
but
we
that's
know, you and
fine.
I know this. Let's communicate this to the people who are listening
I'm
to us.
okay.
The reason that we're in the situation we're in right now is because we've had a company principally, and I'm going to put the primary burden on Waymo. We have a company out there that has established itself. You can cut this out if you feel it's so too controversial. It's established itself
I won't
as
go. I
yeah,
just
it's a
have to say
mission to
they
be
hate
the
me enough.
world's most trusted driver. Now, they're out there giving rides. What is the world's most trusted driver doing? What's the reason it's doing this? What's its motive? What's the mission that it actually is trying to accomplish? It says it wants to be the most trusted driver. And how is it going to do that? Is it going to be the taxi for the world? We know that that's not the case. We know that the reason that they don't have 80,000 cars out there, they could have bought 80,000 Jaguars. The reason they don't have them out there is they couldn't put them on the road, right? They couldn't put that many cars of they can put 2,000 or 2,500 Jaguars on the road, but they can't.
They haven't
So
told us why
they
not.
moved to Zeekr. They haven't told. That's the point. They haven't told us anything. And the
But
people who are trying to produce regulations, the people who eventually are going to have to pass laws, are out there saying, wait a minute, how can what should we be doing? We have to focus on safety. And Waymo's telling us they're the safest cars, and they've got all this technology in there, but there's no business case. Why are we actually doing this? Waymo can talk everything they want about being the world's most trusted driver, but they're operating inside a company called Alphabet. Alphabet has nothing in the world related to driving or being trusted or anything else. If you look at what is Google's or Alphabet's mission in life? To be one click away from information. Don't do evil. Well, they actually left that whole business. What's the mission of what is Tesla doing in this space? Why does Tesla want to have driverless vehicles? Is it because they want to sell robots and that this is a way of selling robots? What's the motive behind Tesla? The motive behind Tesla has to be the motive behind Elon Musk, because he's the guy that's calling all the shots. What's his motive? Does he want to be the richest man in the world? Well, he's done that. No, he wants to be the richest man in the world so he can go to Mars. That's his motive. So the motive of Tesla through Elon Musk is to go
wait,
to
I want to
Mars.
go to Mars too. Okay.
You want to go to Mars too, but in
I've
order to
been
go to
wanting to
Mars,
go
you
to
need a lot
Mars.
of money. So he says, in
Oh,
order to get a lot of money, I got to convince enough people to buy my cars at very, very high prices in order for me to earn as much money as I possibly can, in order for me to fulfill my dream, which is to go to Mars. I mean, we all have motives. How we get there, what we do. If we want to deliver affordable rides, if our mission is to deliver affordable rides, what's the motive for that? We want to be everyone, we want to have something nice on our tombstone saying this guy really did a great job in life. Or do we is our motive to have as much money as possible so that when we retire we can do anything that we want and give it to our kids?
wait a minute, Michael. I mean,
Yeah.
every once in a while, Elizabeth and I wonder why we're doing this. Okay.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
But well, I think the short answer why we're doing it is because in the past, more than a few times, I've needed a ride. And it was a shame I couldn't get one, because it might have made my life a little bit better. And unfortunately, I found myself meeting a lot of people whose lives could really be improved, who would be a little bit happier if they could just go get their hair done.
Yeah. So
do simple things. And
so
so,
there's the motive.
unfortunately, I guess I'm a good Marxist or something. I
Yeah,
don't know.
fine. So you've got a motive. The
I have a
mission,
motive.
how
Yeah,
do you
yeah.
how do you do that? How do you actually get affordable? This is the thing.
I
When I
get
gave
my
my
I get
present,
my butt kicked.
yeah,
I'm getting my butt kicked.
exactly.
I
And
am getting my butt kicked, and
try to make the case,
I am painted in right now. I am painted in the corner in
because
which
no
I
one is
can't get
making the
out.
connection that you've made, Alan,
Well,
that I've made, that Fred has made, that there's a
yeah, I know.
connection between affordability and how you actually deliver that ride.
Absolutely.
People
Or
are
at least I
saying
think.
we're going to have cars that aren't going to crash. That has absolutely nothing to do with affordability, because what we've seen over the course of the last 50 years is the more crash avoidability, the higher the cost of the car. And in the end, that directly affects the cost of the ride. If you're trying to deliver rides to people who can't afford to drive a car, can't afford to operate a car, or even can't drive a car for whatever reason, the benefit of driverless cars is that you've taken out the cost of the driver. This sounds so, it
But
sounds
Michael,
so logical, but
Michael,
no one
it's not.
is getting it, including the politicians in New Jersey who are trying to put laws into place that prevent real testing of cars that would deliver affordable rides. They don't
What a
care
great
about
what a
affordability.
great
But wait,
segue,
wait, wait,
Michael.
wait, wait, wait. I do want to, in my opinion, and it may not be the opinion of you or the opinion of Fred. In my opinion, the cost of the driver is the driver itself. The cost is really not that much if you can get that driver to really be productive. And if you can tell that driver to turn on a dime, the problem is to get the driver to turn on a dime and be there when you need it and really deliver that. Because what the giving of the ride function is, it is uncertain. It is not planned. It is not something that you can set up a timetable 3 years in a row, 3 years ago, and run a schedule. Giving rides is a extremely, call it stochastic thing. And to be able to do it efficiently, you've got to be able to turn on a dime. And unfortunately, to get people to turn on a dime, you have to beat the crap out of them. They can do it for a while, but eventually it's brutal. It's inhuman. It is just what? The beauty of a machine is you can tell it, turn on a dime, and it will, because it follows orders. Boom.
But let's not
And that's the
let's not decouple,
that
Ellen.
that is the real value here,
Yeah, but
because then you
but it
what?
sounds like instead of promoting driverless because it's affordable, because you've taken the driver out of the task, what you're saying is, well, if we replace this car with a machine that we can direct, you've decoupled it. And I don't want to do that. I want
Well,
to make it very, very clear that there are multiple advantages of removing the driver from the task, but they
yeah,
all come with the same result. It's less costly.
yeah.
Whether,
No, we agree,
yeah,
and
but
we agree,
yeah, but don't if you come back at me and say, well, wait a minute, it's not that, it's really the cost of the driver. The cost of the driver, just the cost of the driver, is 60 to 70% of delivering a ride. That's not insignificant. The cost of having a human being paying the person, we know that because we're doing this today with handy rides.
yeah.
We're
What?
paying
No,
people to be there.
yeah.
Yeah,
But the cost of paying the person to be there is only one of the small costs of having that. You got to have a whole HR stuff. You have to have a whole benefits package. You got to be able to have somebody ready to go in case that person isn't there to do it. And
that's
so
all
the
built
oh
into the cost of the driver. That's
well,
I'm not saying
I
it's
know,
just
I know, I
the
know,
person.
I
It's
know,
everything.
I know,
Yeah.
but drivers will tell you, "Oh my goodness, I don't get that much. How could I be that?" But what is not realized is to deliver the ride. You don't need one person. You actually probably need three, if
Yeah.
not more,
Yes. Yeah.
if not more.
So
Whereas, holy hell, if you have some code and have really efficient code, and of course it's not boom, the code that does it, and it doesn't bother turning a wheel. It just goes and gives you the little thing that takes the motors that turn the wheels and takes the motors that do this to the brakes. I mean,
yeah.
boom. Okay.
One of the things
So
that we have had to learn, and I think we're getting closer because it seems like the politicians are at least beginning to pay attention to this. you've got to make it as simple as possible. If you complicate it to the extent, if I say removing the driver reduces the cost by approximately 60%. I'm not saying that it is just that particular driver, and if you take that particular driver out,
Yeah,
everything else falls in
yeah.
place. I'm saying that the driver has cost. If you remove the driver, those costs, which include the HR, which include the time off for having breakfast
And
and lunch and
some of
dinner and everything and all of the everything else that you
the
need to do,
overhead, the
all of
overhead.
that comes out.
Yes,
Right. So
that's but that's the
make
beauty.
it simple.
I'm well, sure. I don't think that it's realized how
But
much more productive a vehicle can be if you have a machine, an algorithm telling it what to do, and an algorithm that is sensing the demand and is responding to the demand in real time, okay, so that it gives the people the rides that they want now
yes,
to go there.
yes. So
Not
if you,
not 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 because I happen to have a bus route and it's going to go downtown. Who the hell wants to go downtown?
if
Nobody
if a
anymore.
senator or a representative, state, federal, listening to this conversation, it
They're
sounds like
not.
we're not. It sounds like we're not in agreement. We are in agreement.
We are in agreement.
Yeah,
We are in agreement. We
but
are in
when I
agreement. We're
say that,
saying it in two
when
ways. I
yeah,
just want
but
to make sure that people keep going. Yeah.
Waymo is not saying that. What Waymo is saying, and the reason where we are where we are right now, is that Waymo hasn't defined its motive. It hasn't given us its real mission, and it certainly hasn't established for us what its method is. Because it says, I want to go out there and get money for delivering rides. But then when you ask them, what are you actually doing? We want to be the most trusted driver. So and this
And
came
and,
out
and
in the this came out in the presentation and in the seminar. If you think your job is to deliver rides, why aren't you approaching this problem from a ride delivery point of view as opposed to from a technology point of view? Why aren't you out there talking with people and saying this isn't you're not going to eliminate all of the deaths on the highways. And by saying that, coming out and saying, we're 95% safer, 99% safer, 92% safer than human drivers. And all you get back from the people is, well, okay, but what am I going to do? Am I going to buy a car, or am I going to depend on giving rides, you giving me rides? Are you going to be doing this for me everywhere? And they don't answer that question because they know the answer. The answer is we're going to sell our technology to companies who will go through the type approval process, who will get their cars on the market, who will sell those cars either to individuals or to companies who want to buy 1,000 or 2,000 or 10,000 cars, who will deliver rides. That's not our job. Our job, Waymo, our job is to make the technology work so that you, car company, will be able to sell those cars. We're not in the car company business. We're not in the car selling business. We're in the most trusted driver business. Now, if only they would come out clearly and say, this is what we're doing. Here's our motive. What our motive is. Why are we doing this? Because we want to have our technology in every car so that we can sell you more advertising. That's the real motive, right? And
Well, come on.
and our mission.
We shan't get cynical here because
I'm
if
not
we if
cynical.
it, well, I mean,
This is not cynicism. This is
well,
exactly what they're doing.
well,
Why
you know
won't they admit it?
well, it's because they're a private entity. They don't care about us. They don't have to tell us anything. They don't, I mean, what do they care
Yeah.
about us? They don't care about us. I mean, they just can crush us trivially. Okay.
Well, I think in the interest of Michael getting some sleep tonight, first of
What?
all, you guys have given a brilliant synopsis of your book, The Real Case for Driverless Mobility. All they
Well,
have to do
yeah.
is listen to what you had to say here.
Well, look, Fred, guess what? We'll tell everybody that's what we're doing. We're selling our book. We expect
Yeah.
let's see, some revenue to me over that time frame is, let's see, what's the number? In my class, I always tell them, if I ask you a question, I'm going to frame the question so that you know the answer, everybody. So everybody in that class knows the answer to all my questions. It's zero. Okay. So I always frame a question, so that zero is the right answer, so that they don't have to cheat. They know the answer even before I ask the question. Okay, but
As
uh,
as I was saying,
geez.
in the interest of Michael getting back to bed at some point before the sun really comes up again.
Or before
Uh,
we show up on the same day as he.
right. In the latest newsletter, and Michael
Yeah.
was already alluding to this, you linked to a recent article from Elektrek by Fred Lambert that was headlined, "New Bill Would Ban Tesla's Camera-Only Robotaxi, Not Waymo." And he is writing about New Jersey, but it seems a bit late.
Well, I mean, my goodness. I mean, first of all, I mean, to relate it to what Michael just said, and he implied, if what he said is true, that must mean that Waymo is selling the LiDAR that they developed and making sure that's sold in New Jersey. I mean, really, Waymo, that's what you're doing? I hope that's not what you're doing. And in fact, it's not what you're doing, because he wrote that what on July 6th. The bills that he's claiming are that were adopted in New Jersey, or I don't even know what he claims. Those things, one was pulled by the senator who was writing it on what, the 22nd of June, and the other one was pulled by the Speaker of the Assembly without comment on the Assembly version. So Fred, Fred, I thought you were good. I mean, where do you get your information? I
I want to
mean,
clarify, you're talking about Fred Lambert, correct?
oh yeah, oh yes, Fred. I'm not talking about Fred Fishkin. No, this is Fred. Fred, I thought you were good. I used to quote you all the time and so on as a source of real information. Where'd you get this? Come on. I mean, I mean, you got to talk to the folks in Jersey here. I mean, yipes. I mean,
We spent a
what
fair
do they
time.
think we are? I mean, they think we're Greenland or something, or Venezuela, or I mean, whatever, the 55th state. We were part of the original 13. I mean, we even had the Continental Congress here in a couple places. I mean, we were the capital. A couple places in Jersey was capital of the USA at one point. Ooh, I mean, cut it out. We aren't just stepping stones to New York. I mean, we might be
And
their
let-
breadbasket or their garden state, but come on, we're not their stepping stone.
and
What?
hopefully there will be some new legislation coming forward, but we'll see.
Yeah, and I think and we if we could only survive, which we're probably not going to be able to survive, but it does look like that finally there is interest in maybe writing some sensible AV legislation in New Jersey that looks at the real value, at least what Michael and I and you, Fred, have been talking about for what, 14 years, who knows? And like, is quality of life aspects of this thing, the opportunity of this technology to provide rides to the latent demand of our society, and let those folks who end up having to stay at home because they can't get a high quality, affordable ride to go get their hair done, go to school and learn, go get some decent food, go to a doctor, go to work and punch in on time every day. even on the midnight shift, and not get fired because they couldn't get there. They couldn't bum a ride. They couldn't, what, I mean, the value proposition to these folks that allow them to elevate themselves because of the value proposition of mobility. That's what transportation's all about. And when Art goes and says, oh my goodness, mobility and transportation worldwide is worth what'd she say recently? $10 trillion, where a substantial percentage of global GDP. It's because of the quality of life enhancement that this mobility could do over what people already have today. And some people, if you have a Lambo or a do da 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 da, you can, I mean, and have 18 different ways to get to the airport already. I mean, to have a 19th, the people we've been giving rides to, they don't care about the technology. They care that, oh my goodness, it took them from A to B at time T when they wanted to go. And most importantly, the thing was going to be there to bring them home. Why do people use their cars today? Not to get there, so they can get home. Why did Hansel and Gretel put the crumbs down to grandma's house? So they can get home. Now with these things sitting around, just waiting, begging, doing nothing. Doing nothing. It must be a Pittsburgh term or something. Doing nothing.
I think New Jersey has a not for nothing going on.
Maybe New Jersey has nothing too. Doing nothing. And bring them home. That's societal value. And hopefully the Trump administration will see it. I think Duffy said it. Saval Oz has said it. The Speaker of the Assembly in New Jersey saw our letter, pulled it. I think he sees it. Maybe some people are finally seeing it. And, if we can get through the regulations and we get the damn technology to work and we can actually do it first in the small for a few, why not do it for a few? Holy hell, we could do this in South Jersey and rural New Jersey. South Jersey, they talk about buses in North Jersey and complain about them, and they say, oh my goodness, the buses in North Jersey are late. That's what people in North Jersey say. People in South Jersey complaining about buses, they say, we complain about, oh, that's right, we don't have any buses. I mean, in rural areas,
there's an awful lot of good that can be done.
There's not even a challenge. The safety's not a challenge. Stuff works.
Yeah.
And why we're not putting it to work to provide. I mean, come on, folks. But how long have we preached this, Michael?
Yeah. Well, here's the preaching that I did when I was in Geneva at the this AI for Good conference. The question,
AI for Good.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
I didn't make up
I know.
the name, right?
Yeah.
So this session was about how do you move from testing to deployment, and I took it seriously. As one of the 4 panel members, I took that seriously, and I said, based on what we've learned doing a proof of market test, what deployment will take is the following. 1, regulations that allow driverless vehicles on the road. The people establishing the regulations for what is street legal need to deliver the requirements which the vehicle builders must follow. WP29 is working on the standards Governments have begun to focus on creating the right types of laws and regulations they need to complete their work. 2, vehicles that are street legal. The people building driverless cars need to deliver driverless cars. People building driverless cars, not the technology for making cars driverless. The people building driverless cars need to deliver on their promises of safe operation, above all, following the regulations that are established for their operation. There was not one car company at this conference speaking. There may have been somebody from Mercedes or Volkswagen hiding in the audience someplace, but there was not one person from a car company speaking. And I made sure that I made that point, especially to the panel on which they were discussing how you apply regulations, and the only people on that panel were from companies like Waymo and Waze. Third, a legal framework that is based on the fallibility of all humans and the imperfection of all technologies. Driverless vehicles will not eliminate all road fatalities, and it is a dangerous dream to believe they will. It is irresponsible of companies promoting driverless technology to claim that their robotic systems are perfect and infallible. Driverless vehicles can help to provide mobility to a large number of people who otherwise would not be able to fulfill their realizable dreams of improving their own lives and the lives of the members of their families. Now, when this session finished, I was approached by one person. And that one person was so enthusiastic, but it was only one person. I wasn't mobbed by everybody sitting there, because I think this presentation hit them between the eyes and they weren't paying attention, because it didn't talk about safety. It didn't say how much money they were going to make by removing drivers. It didn't tell them they were going to get rich. It said, if you remove the driver from the driving task, you're going to be able to make the ride for people who can afford mobility affordable. But this one person convinced me that I should give him a copy of the book. He was prepared to buy it, but I said, "You're so enthusiastic. Here's a copy. Please read it and tell me what you think." We need to put our words that we're talking about, we need to put them in the hands of people and get them to take the message, to understand the message. People who are promoting and proposing legislation in states, in countries that are focused on something that isn't really the main benefit of having driverless cars, is just moving the bar further and further and further into the future. We want to move it further and closer and closer and closer into the present. That's what we need to be doing.
Well, Michael, the only thing I'd add is that we also have an audio version of the book. And the audio
Yes.
version of the book is, talk about affordable.
Much less expensive. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I mean, the other version, never mind Elsevier, we have nothing good to say about you, or at least I have nothing good to say about you. But
a new publisher is in the wings, right? So,
well, yeah, and for the new book, yeah, thank you. But boy, do we have an audio version. Who did the audio version?
Fred.
Ooh, I mean, Fred,
mellifluous voice too.
Good thing I didn't do it, because nobody. I mean, it's
I
amazing.
had COVID when I read that, Alan. So,
well, Fred, you did a marvelous job. So,
yes.
Look,
look. I want to wrap up with one thing, because we've talked a lot about Waymo today, and in the newsletter you have something positive to say.
I do.
Yeah, I think you do. A TV report from San Francisco that said Waymo called San Mateo police on teens for drinking and shooting toy guns from a driverless vehicle. It stopped the ride and called the police. And I think you said something positive.
Really remind me. No, one of the things that we haven't said loud enough and have maybe said is that if these systems, driverless vehicles, end up giving high quality, affordable rides, there has to be a quid pro quo by those getting the rides. They have to behave. What has ruined driving? It's the misbehaviors. Why do I think it'll be a long time before we make any advancements in safety of the roadways is because the misbehaviors may well be the last people to give it up. And therefore, they're the ones that are causing the problem. They're the ones that rear end you, go through red lights, go down a cul-de-sac at 73 miles an hour and ram into a house, drop their phone and reach down to go grab their phone, and then say, hey, the dog ate my homework. The kids riding in a vehicle that Waymo is trying to give them at least a good ride, and they're out there using it to become influencers on, the inner tubes. I mean, come on, kids. New York City subway has had a problem for years with kids surfing the subway to be able to take a selfie of themselves. I don't know, maybe if I was, 13 or 14 or 15, maybe I'd probably be, I don't know. My behavior was not really very good. But my goodness, you can't have kids hanging out of windows. And that's why, back to my supervisory function, there has to be a supervisory function in there that's able to tell that the kids are hanging out the windows, taking selfies of themselves to become influencers on, what has become, where's my phone? I mean, I really wonder whether or not the phone is net positive. I mean, it's getting to be a point where, because all this stuff has run to the lowest common denominator. You got to. Okay. And basically, with respect, I mean, in terms of the way we approach, and if we end up still staying trying to give rides, you're probably going to get to misbehave once, and probably we'll say, okay, dog ate your homework. You'll get to misbehave a second time. You're not going to get to misbehave 3 times. Sorry. As I tell my students, United Airlines would not let me anywhere near Newark Airport if they thought when I picked, oh, I think I'll take the exit row right next to the window so I can help people in case, and open the window and help people out if there's a crash and I can help. If they have any thoughts that I might, at 30,000 feet, oh, does this open? Oh, let me take a selfie. They wouldn't let me anywhere near that airplane, anywhere near the airport. When I get on a plane, I got to behave. Otherwise, no, but you don't get on the airplane. They just say, sir, come with me. And they should, because it's so easy to misbehave. It's so easy to think you're going to become or you're going to get your 15 seconds of fame. And then you can tell your friends about it. And you're ruining it for everybody. the tail of the behavioral distribution, that tail of misbehaviors, is the reason for 40,000 people dying. It's the tail of the distribution. It's not the bulk. It's the few. And the few can easily ruin this. Because, I mean, you better have a pretty darn good supervisor in there who supervises the behavior. And we do. There'll be cameras all over the damn place. There'll be data. I mean, I don't know. There was one legal case in which, you know, even with all the data showing it, I mean, the jury said, well, give them the money, give the people the money. So the ambulance chasers in this thing do a pretty darn good job of making sure they get their 40%. And they're going to be there. We got to figure out how to deal with them. And hopefully they won't ruin it. But I mean, insurance fraud in the current, you know, automobile thing, plus the misbehaviors, you know, makes you want to stay home. The hell with it. I'm not going. So yes, thank you, Waymo, for, you know, and my goodness, you know, I'd say prosecute the parents. Parents have a responsibility here too. And of course, my kids did nothing but exemplary behavior because they're such a good parent.
Of course. And on that note, I think it's time to tuck in Michael, let him get back to sleep. Thank you for being with us again, especially in the middle of the night for you, Michael, there in Sweden. The place to go to read more is michaelsena.com. Thanks, Michael.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you.
And vive la France on Bastille Day.
Yeah, I'm neutral on that one.
What do you mean neutral? You got to go. I mean, come on. I mean,
They've got two more games. If they make it to the second round, they've got to get past Spain. But we'll see.
And for England, things could get messy. Can we say that?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Things will finally. I mean, come on. I mean, how was that goal disallowed? Get out of here.
Well,
I was rooting for Sweden. That wasn't. Was that Sweden or no? Is there a difference between Sweden and Norway?
We can close on that note.
Stop them right here. Okay. You can find more and the newsletter at smartdrivingcar.com. You can find my tech reports at techstination.com. Thank you again for taking the time to watch or listen, and please stay safe.